Hello lads, ladies, gents, ladetts, whoever, whatever, welcome back to another video. I was fortunate enough to have received a key for today's game from key mailer, Marron's Day, which at a glance is a very cute Gameboy inspired slice of life. Following one of the most adorable characters I've seen in recent times, Marron, who can be best described as a ball of chaotic happiness and energy as she wants to get the town festival back on track after finding out it's been cancelled. On this quest, Marron finds themselves interacting with all different types of locals as she tries to convince them to start up their own stalls. However, it's more than just simply asking them. As is the way of the world, nothing is free, so Marron has to put herself to work, helping everyone with a variety of different tasks in order to get them to join in. On paper, it's a pretty simple premise. However, what makes Marron's Day stand out are the interactions between Marron and those around her, because it's very clear that everyone is friends with everybody here, especially Marron, even though she may be a little over the top for some. With the exception of the dialogue that is repeated if you forgot what you were doing for someone, absolutely every single conversation between the characters builds upon either the characters, which I would say is the most common, or a bit of the world that Marron inhabits. I wouldn't say this is a game with an incredible amount of lore, but that's not a negative, since it's a game that finds its characters and presentation being its main selling point, to which every single character feels super important and no one feels wasted, with the exception of those two at the hot spring, out here enjoying life in this economy. Getting back on track, everyone feels believable and all the interactions are pretty natural. A good example of this is Marron and Cream. Initially, Cream is pretty skeptical of Marron after he finds that he is missing a few carrots from his garden, all the while Marron waking up after a nightmare that she had no carrots at all, making you believe it's possible that she might have been a little bit cheeky and pinched a couple of carrots. It seems silly to treat this as such a big plus, but I've played plenty of games where they fail to give characters any real depth. But something as simple as this starts to flesh everybody out within 5 minutes, and it only gets better as you make your way through. We learn more about the possible shenanigans that Marron has found herself in. Conversations with others show that she's very caring and kind-natured, all the while being a little bit reckless in her approach. For a game that can be finished quickly, it does an impeccable job of fleshing out all of its characters, with my personal favourite character being Sunny. I know I've already said it, but no character feels wasted. It makes the game such a cohesive experience. With this said though, what about the other gameplay elements? Surely it's more than just dialogue options. Well, it is more, but maybe not as much as you might want. I say this because there are a handful of minigames for you to partake in, but there's no one element that I would say is a core mechanic. For example, there's a fishing minigame. Simple, and I love it. But outside of collecting fish for one of the townsfolk, it's not something you have to do beyond that. Sure, there are other fish for you to collect as bonuses, but again, it's optional, not mandatory. With Cream, you have to help him plant and grow turnips in a cute, if not somewhat stressful timed minigame. We go on a fetch quest for dandelions and rocks for other members of the town. And eventually, probably the most involved minigame, the eraser battles, where we have to see ourselves load up different sides of an eraser with different abilities to try and beat our foe. Fun, but it's not mandatory. It's about as actiony as the game gets, and honestly, as much as it feels strange to say, I'm glad it doesn't go too over the top. It would have been extremely easy to try and cram a ton of different little elements into this game, only for it to ruin the pacing and general experience. Marron's Day finds itself going for a less is more approach overall, and that along with how well the characters are written, as I've said before, leads to an incredibly memorable experience. I get where some people might be turned off. Not a ton of gameplay options, and also not a super long game at that. But don't let it fool you, because if this game was any longer, I think it would be a worse experience overall for it. If you want to spend extra time finding every rock, fish, and mastering the eraser battle, you can. You'll easily double, if not triple, your overall time in the game. But the point of the game is its characters, and the town itself coming together for the festival. The fact you only get 3 coins in order to pick the stalls you have at the end carefully means that everyone that you interact with is important. But you also don't feel punished for finishing the game because of its short runtime, since you can just beat it again and try the different stalls out, giving it way more replayability than you might expect. The other major selling point, as mentioned, is the game's presentation. It's pretty hard to not notice, but it's clearly designed to be like an original Game Boy game, or at least a Game Boy Color game. It has a very limited color palette along with simple designs for the characters. It made me feel super nostalgic for a game that had only recently been released. The overall visual aesthetic absolutely nails what the game is trying to convey, while the game's music really drives home its charm. The chiptune soundtrack is phenomenal, and I do recommend listening to it. It might not necessarily be something you go out of your way to listen to all the time, but it definitely is worth a listen. Another thing that really helps drive home the charm of the game is the use of a technology known as the wrapper, which, thanks to Pablo from Raw Labs Games, who happen to be the publisher, I think I have a pretty decent handle on. Essentially, it's a tool that Pablo has made in order to port Game Boy and Game Boy Color games, and is based on open source softwares known as Bennu GD2 and Sameboy. To simplify, Pablo has said it's basically an emulator with a nice UI, but it also allows for Game Boy games to have modern features, such as autosave, achievements, and even controller vibration, along with a lot of others. What is super cool is the fact it allows for releases of Game Boy and Game Boy Color cartridges in 2025. Like, the fact we're still getting new Game Boy games is incredible. I did ask Pablo if he would love to see anything added or at least improved upon for the wrapper, and he let me know he would love to see it be able to port to other consoles to get more of the Game Boy and Game Boy Color homebrew games out there for more players, as well as eventually having more shader filters. Though, as he explained, he has a lot of work in his backlog, so it might be worth just keeping an eye on Raw Labs in the future. Beyond my quick chat with Pablo, I was also able to shoot through a few questions to the developer NPC-KC, or as they said to call them KC, about Marron's Day. Mainly because I was curious about Marron's Day and how the game came about, to which they explained that they had originally made a prologue for a game jam about friendship, and they wanted to make more in the same world, thus leading to Marron's Day. Since the game has been out for a little while, there aren't any real plans for further content for the game, but it has recently got a Switch release, which I think is the absolute perfect console to play this on. I did also ask KC if there was anything they had planned that they wanted to share, but as of right now, there isn't anything. However, since they release a lot of what they described as tiny games, you should keep an eye out, especially if you enjoyed Marron's Day. Also, KC offers translating services for Japanese to English, which is really damn cool in my book, because I've been trying to learn Japanese and it's kicking my ass. I will leave a link to their website in the description below, so you can check out their portfolio. I just think they're really damn cool. Overall, I adored my time with Marron's Day. Even though it's not an overly lengthy game, it's one of those experiences that is truly memorable for all the right reasons. As mentioned, it's available on Switch and on Steam, which is how I played it today. So if you're after a cute little game to play that explores themes based around friendship and with some really damn good character writing, please check out Marron's Day. So with that, lads, ladies, gents, ladetts, whoever, whatever, it brings us to the end of another video. I hope you enjoyed this look at Marron's Day. Again, big shout out to Keymailer for helping me get my hands on this key. Thank you so much to Pablo from Raw Labs Games and to KC for answering my questions. Again, KC, I have so much respect for everything you do because it's just damn impressive. It's everything I wish I could do, but nothing that I'm willing to put the work in for at the same time. But please go check them out, please give them support, and please pick this game up, especially on Switch, because the Switch release is really cool. I haven't played the Switch release myself, but I've seen people play it and it is dope. The wrapper allows for some really cool features, and it's definitely a game that I just can't recommend enough. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like. If you want to go that extra step, you can hit the subscribe button. And if you want to go that extra mile, you can support me on either Ko-fi, Patreon, or YouTube memberships like these lovely people here. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe out there. Bye.